Look, and let me get a little focused here. I'm not getting a good shot of the pool here in this little view here, but I'll assure you, Jennifer, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. I don't know if we could see the pool. The pool's looking really good. I just got back here last night. Yeah, you guys see the pool, right? Yeah, it's I don't know how I can angle this camera so you could see it better, but I have to be underneath this so I could see you chatting away. But just got in last night from Florida to New York, and we are back home. We are back home in the Steph. Hello, love the pool. Yeah, now you could see it. There we go. But I'm holding the camera in my hand, and I don't think I could do that the whole time. You never know. I could maybe sit here like this and talk to you guys. Aunt BB2, good to see you. Yeah, the flight was great. A Milwaukee civilian. How are you, buddy? You know, I have that. I have a rental in Florida. I don't own anything in Florida. I rented a place, and it was actually more economical to rent a place for a whole year than it was to rent it for the season, which the season is. Sherry Hill, how are you? The season is November 1st till May 1st. And so I found a place for the whole year. And so I can go down even in the summer months. You know, because all you guys that aren't from this area, the New York area and the places that are the most popular on Long Island, Montauk and the Hamptons and Sag Harbor and all. Dawn Marie, good to see you. Thank you, Dawn Marie. Thank you for you guys root for me all the time, and you pray for me. How could I not get back here safely with all your good thoughts and prayers? I got my Midwest Equus hat on. Moonlight View, the Supreme Commander is on the air. All you guys that know the name, the Supreme Commander, I appreciate it. Kim, great to see you. Yeah, it was great. The flight took 2.5 hours. Can you imagine that? It's a 19 or a 20-hour, 21-hour drive. You think I'm muted? Is anyone else having a hard time hearing me? I think you guys are hearing me. Muggsy Siegel. Well, look at all these guys in the chat. It's so great to see everyone. Muggsy, nope, it was me. Okay, Kami, thank you. I don't want to be muted. Martha Miner, good to look at all you guys in the chat. It's so good to see you guys. You know, it's coming back here, and audio is just fine. Thank you, Milwaukee Civilian. And so yeah, it's so nice to go to get out of one place that you live to go somewhere else, to be able to do that. I almost feel like, I definitely am blessed, but I mean, like, you know, I came from being a kid, one of 8 kids in a family, and here I am, 66 years old, and I'm still bringing up my childhood. But to think that I would ever be able to do this, to have a home in the Northeast, and then be able to fly down to Florida whenever I want and have a home waiting for me there. And I did, while I was down there, I don't know if you guys watch, I did like 4 podcasts down there. And different setting. I have the white background that says police off the cuff. Here I have the black background that says police off the cuff. But anyway, you know, guys, let me get to we the other night, myself and Mike Geary, the Parkland shooting, which is already Scott Messerschmidt, how are you? Thank you, Dawn Marie. So nice that you feel that way, and I appreciate that. That I worked hard and I deserve that. Thank you, thank you. You know, some people work hard and they don't have great things happening to them. You know, Kami, thank you so much. But the other night, the other night we covered, myself and Mike Geary. We covered the Parkland shooting. And not specifically the shooting, but there's an officer on Parkland. His name is Scott Peterson. And he's been arrested, and he's actually going to get charged, and he's going to trial. I believe the charges were child neglect. I'll tell you exactly. Child neglect and culpable negligence. Now, in the Parkland shooting, which already has been 5 years ago. 5 years, can you imagine that? You think the people that lost sons and daughters are in any less pain now than they were 5 years ago? I don't think so. Lucy on the go, hello. I think they're still in pain. Anyway, this officer, Scott Peterson, Coco Puff Bear, Yo-Yo Sarge Bill, I love that. I love that. Very good. He's being charged with those things, and in some part of me feels sorry for him, but another part of me, Richard Resendez, how are you, buddy? Another part of me says he didn't do the right thing as an officer. He didn't go and confront that shooter, and he may have been able to save some lives had he done that, and he didn't. So the thing is, with these Steph, 5 years ago that happened, and just recently, the perpetrator, Nicholas Cruz, I believe his name was, he was sentenced to life in prison. And if you ever watched the impact statement that members of the family, they were in court and they were calling him out for what he did. It was very touching and very heartfelt, and in a way hard to watch. And no one can imagine losing a child like that. Dawn Marie, thanks for stopping by. Always great to see you here. Dr. Debbie from St. Thomas University, she's such a great person, a great supporter of this show, a great supporter of me. Frequently, the doctor will ask my opinion on certain things. She'll ask me my opinion, which I feel flattered because she is the subject matter expert. Educationally, she's the subject matter expert. And Candy Scarrat, how are you? Betty Spaghetti, good to see you. So she told me that the feelings down in Florida, in Parkland, are still quite raw. Still, of course, 5 years. And one of her friends, her close friends, lost her child during that shooting. What can you say to someone like that? How do you help take away their pain? Someone who lost a child. Is there any way you can help to take away someone's pain? Something like that? 73 people in the chat, 29 with the thumbs up. Let's get some more thumbs up, guys. What's going on? Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Backyard Beverage, Bitchin' with Bill. Coffee with Cannon. We use all the names that you guys, Coffee, Cuffs, and Cannon. Whether you agree that two SCOTUS cases protect officers from liability while action on duty, Milwaukee civilian, that's interesting. You're right. And I think that, I don't think Officer Scott Peterson is going to get convicted of the felony. If he gets convicted of a felony in this case, he loses his pension. And he did 30 years with the police department. But I definitely think that he didn't do the right thing that day. And here I am, I'm criticizing a fellow officer. People say, oh, we never do that. I'm coming out and saying he did not do the right thing. And I don't buy all the nonsense that, oh, he heard the shots echoing. The children that were in danger were in the school, not out where he was. So all the shot fired echo is just absolute bullshit. It's nonsense. And his defense attorney is trying to raise that because there was a hearing the other day, because the case is getting prepared to go to trial, about whether the jury should be allowed to go to the scene. Erica Olson, how are you? Girl Friday, hello everyone. Good morning from Southern California. Good to see you, Southern California. Milwaukee civilian, I'm going to take a position against Officer Scott Peterson. I definitely think he did not do the right thing. We spoke the other night about the two different types of officers, the warrior and the person who was more of like community activist, community type officer. Now I'm forgetting the term. But the warrior is the cop that's going to go in there and confront the bad guy, the perpetrators. The warrior or the guardian. The guardian is more of a person who's going to work with the community, a community policing type officer. But in an active shooter incident, you don't need a guardian, you need the warriors, you know. Jennifer, thank you for the $2 super sticker. What do you think of Mr. Penny's case? I'm not sure, Jennifer, which case you're referring to. But let's stay on this case for now. So the two types of officers we spoke about the other night were the warrior and the guardian. And I don't think Officer Peterson, of his 30 years on the job, 25 was spent as a school resource officer. Betty Spaghetti, the root problems is our culture, accessibility to mental health, drug, legal and illegal consumption, lack of community. You know, I agree with that to some extent, Betty Spaghetti, but when, you know, when the shit hits the fan, you want the popo to be the popo. You want the police to be the real police, you know. Milwaukee civilian, he listens to me on long drives. Well, thank you so much. You know, when I drove down to Florida, drove back, what got me through the drive was listening to Joe Rogan. He's the #1 podcaster in the country, and I thought his podcast was so damn interesting. And I listened to all different ones. Erica Olson, good to see you. All you guys that have come to see Coffee with Cannon, thank you so much. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for a lot of new subscribers lately. I hit 49,000, and I want to have one of those episodes where all of a sudden you look and you gain 20 or 30,000 in one episode. That hasn't happened to me yet, but it's going to happen. I guarantee it's going to happen. Mary Brayman, Jennifer, Kim Alston is in the house. Thank you so much for all you do, Kim. 93 in the chat, 48 with the thumbs up. This is Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Backyard Beverage, Coffee with Cannon, Bitchin' with Bill, Coffee Cuffs, and Cannon. So many names you guys give me that I'll confuse everyone. What the hell is this show called? Well, the subsidiary is Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. And then we have some fun with some other names. Pablo Cicada. You know, Pablo, I don't listen to audiobooks. I probably should, because it's probably easier to listen to a book. You know, my niece, my brother has 2 daughters and a son, and every kid in his family is super talented. Both girls, the one is one of the top voiceover artists in the New York metropolitan area, and the younger one does audiobooks. So she's getting into they have tremendous melodic voices. They both can sing like birds. And the son is a stand-up comic. So they all sort of went into showbiz. And so, yeah, audiobooks. Mary Brayman, thank you for joining our YouTube family. Welcome to the bucket. When I named those things years ago, people should take me to a mental health facility. The bucket, dipped in butter. Polish my rack, you know. Barbara Butcher has having her book signing. What's the date now? I have the date. It's in my phone, but I was invited, so I'm gonna take some pictures that night. Perhaps do an interview with Barbara Butcher. But her book is coming out. Northern California Cubs, thank you for the $4.99 super sticker. Listening from work, don't tell the boss. Shh. Don't tell the boss. Pauline Buckles, Baby Doll. Guess I'm old, but I like to read books. Yeah, look. But but most people, an audiobook, they're driving, so they can't concentrate in reading. So driving, you can listen to a book, right? And you're not going to take your eye off the road. So look at all the things we discuss here, you know. reading books, audiobooks, podcasts, all those great things that how to get through. Look, last night I flew back to Westchester from we need 43 thumbs up, please, to hit 100. Thank you. and the Wi-Fi was down on the plane. So now you couldn't watch TV or do a lot of other things, but you could watch some of the bad movies that were on the plane. And, you know, you need something to keep your mind occupied, or else you're just waiting for the time, right? And that's how when I fly, that's how I usually watch something, you know, because your phone, you can't get on the Wi-Fi, so you might as well watch something, right? So let's get back to the Scott Peterson thing. When I look at that guy, that man, that former police officer, Scott Peterson, I can't help but feel for him, feel his pain, and I just don't think he's a warrior. You know, I think it's sort of proof that 25 years out of his 30 years on the police department, he was a school resource officer. And trust me, guys, I have nothing against school resource officers. I think they do a tremendous job at what they do, but they are not warriors. They are not the warrior type cops that you want to confront. But having said that, you know, you raise your right hand, you carry a gun, and you're trained to confront and use deadly physical force. So I can't say that he did the right thing. I think he did not do the right thing. I think he, unfortunately, I have to use the word, the parents call him the coward from Broward, because that's Broward County is where it came from. And you can't, the kids too, a lot of the kids, one of the kids was quoted on the air as saying he didn't have the heart to go in there, and he's armed with a gun. He had his gun out, you could see him, but he didn't go toward the danger. He stayed outside where he was safe. And two security guards that were unarmed ran in and confronted the gunman. So I don't buy all of the crap about, he couldn't tell where the gunfire was coming from. He could tell where it was coming from, you know. Girl Friday, yeah, so again, I don't want to see him lose his pension, but I think it was probably, Jennifer, the Marine in the subway, yeah. You know, one of my biggest problems with that is, and I think the Marine did the right thing, and I hate when the public tries to make it something that it's not. They try to make it about race. And I 100% blame the politicians in New York City for that incident, because the politicians, including the MTA, they're a wasteful organization. The top guy is way overpaid. This guy, Jano Lieber, he's an arrogant, I almost said a word I'm not supposed to say. He's arrogant. He makes like $450,000 a year. Meanwhile, no one's paying to get into the subway. Everyone's jumping the turnstile because there's no penalty for doing that. And then they're allowing homeless people and EDPs, that's the euphemism for psychotic people, EDPs to roam the subways and to intimidate and rob people. And the crime has gone up like 40% in the subway. So I blame it 100% on the politicians. They are, Milwaukee's, Jano Lieber of New York's MTA, he's a horror show. And I don't know, he's a political appointee from Governor Hochul, another soft on crime governor, you know, and it's disgusting. It really is disgusting. And the poor Marine that was trying to defend himself and other people on that train, all of a sudden his life is on hold. And did he intend to kill that person? No, absolutely not. He intended to stop a threat. And unfortunately, the man passed away, you know, and then all of the shysters come out of the woodwork. Al Sharpton, you know, they're all looking to get a payday. You know, it's like, it's unbelievable, you know. Yeah, so guys, yeah, my pool's looking good, right? It looks, I haven't been in it yet. It's probably cold. I haven't, you know, I just got back from Florida, so the pool in Florida was super warm. All pools in Florida, I guess, are super warm because they're getting blasted with sun rays all the time, right? So, Shifty Sharpton, yeah. Patty Gee, Someone said there's multiple examples of police standing by and doing nothing. Well, yes, that, I covered the other night too, that Uvalde case in Texas. That was the 1 year anniversary. That was one of the most horrific events I've ever seen of police inaction in anywhere in this nation. Horrible. They should be ashamed. The guy who was the chief of police there, just ridiculous, just ridiculous. And yes, but then we compare it to the officers in the Nashville, Tennessee incident that just happened recently. Total 100% heroes, trained, precision training. They knew exactly what they were doing. They responded like the military. Precision, precision, precision. Nothing left to chance. And they went towards the gunfire, they confronted it, and they took out the shooter, saving countless lives. Yes, there's the difference, right? There's the difference between and something, we spoke about it the other night too. Oh, I just want to Hoop. Hi guys, how are you? I want to say the names online and live here of the Nashville officers that were so brave that in that shooting, and their names are Michael Colazzo and Rex Engelbert. And those guys, they deserve to be invited to the White House, but were they? Oh no. The White House just wants to trash the Second Amendment. They don't want to praise officers that stopped an active shooter, especially when there was the politics involved in it. That shooter had a manifesto, and they still haven't released it because it's against their political ideology to do so. So, everything, sometimes I laugh when I say something political in this show. People say, keep politics. It's impossible to keep politics out of it. I always say policing, the P in policing stands for politics, because if there's any organization on this earth that is guided and ruled and ordered around by politics, it's the police. And you can see that nationally, and whenever these things happen, you always see politicians, or you hear politicians say, oh, they need training, they need more training. Guess what? Training costs money. And guess what? They don't want to spend the money. They don't want to train the officers. But when these things happen, Patty Gee, a team of police officers is different than a police officer acting alone with no backup. Patty, when you raise your right hand and you swear to protect the Constitution of the United States, and you swear to protect the Constitution, or defend, the right words, defend the Constitution, in this case, the state of Florida, you don't, in an active shooter situation, you are trained, whether you're by yourself or whether you have a team of other officers, you are trained to confront the threat. And he did not do that. He did not do that. And as a result, they estimated that he could have saved at least 6 people's lives. Milwaukee civilian, you're so right. I agree with you. And what Milwaukee civilian just said was, the legal aspect of this worries him. In essence, this officer, Scott Peterson, has been arrested and charged with child neglect and culpable negligence. Now, police officers throughout this country now, if they don't act, if they don't do something, or the persons in charge don't like how they acted or reacted, are they to be arrested and charged with malfeasance, or charged with failure to act, failure to take proper action? Milwaukee civilian, I 100% agree with you. I think it's a slippery slope, as they say in the law business. It's a slippery slope in the way that what defines failure to act. In this instance, I think they're really stretching the child neglect statute for this. They're stretching it. Was this child neglect? I'd like to read the statute before I could even go with it. I don't think it's very tough, It's very tough. Kel, how are you? Good to see you guys. Guys, this is Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I have so many names for this show that keep listening. Backyard beverage, coffee with Cannon. Bitchin' with Bill, coffee, cuffs, and crime with Cannon. I think that's enough names for the show, or else you guys are going to get confused. Sergeant George Ishag, good to see you, buddy. I got my Midwest Equisearch hat on. Good thing I have a hat on because it's pretty sunny out here. Dave Rader and the folks from Equus, Cops in the Kitchen. We tried that one time. Phil and I did a show called Coppers in the Kitchen, and it was well received, but we never went back to it. You know, we can't wear all kinds of hats. We can't wear these hats and chef's hats, and we can't be good at everything, right? But so, folks, what are your thoughts about Officer Scott Peterson? Should he have been charged? I mean, he's awaiting trial, or should he have been allowed to retire and walk away with his pension? I'll tell you, one of my thoughts is that he's never going to live in peace. The entire rest of his life, every single day, he's going to think of that day. And I bet you he wishes that he went inside that building and confronted that shooter. Even at potential death to himself, I bet you he regrets the day that he didn't respond that way. How would you like to be remembered after doing 30 years on a police department as the coward from Broward? That I mean, that's some horrible tag, isn't it? The coward from Broward. And some of the parents think of him as that. And I'm sure he doesn't, look, as I said, I feel for the guy. I really, really do. I think it probably is a stretch that he was arrested and charged. And yet, you guys ever see the chief of that, or the former chief, Milwaukee civilian, Arredondo's performance in Uvalde was more, yes, I agree with you. I felt that Arredondo's performance, he was the chief of police in Uvalde. He should be charged. He was grossly negligent. There was a failure in Uvalde of leadership, and he was the leader. But, I've mentioned Erica Olson, child neglect, I don't know, failure to perform his duty, yes. Erica, I agree with you. I think they're stretching the law because they want to get him so bad. I think the community wants a piece of meat, Oh, good, we passed 100 in the thumbs up. Thank you guys that pushed that. Thank you so much. 134 in the chat, 101 with the thumbs up. Yeah, I think that they're stretching the law a little bit. That Angela Donna, so sad, but he didn't do the right thing. So sad, he needs to answer to his actions. Angelia Dana. Angelia, something, I agree with you, but on the same vein, here's a man that did the right thing for 30 years. He was no hero, cop, but I'm sure he touched a lot of lives. Probably did a lot of good things in his 30 years as a cop. And, there's an old expression on the police department, anyone that's done that job is, the expression is 1,000 attaboys doesn't equal one shit. And 1,000 attaboys is just attaboy, good job, or attagirl, whichever you want, but it's called attaboy. And then one shit, one mistake, and all those attaboys are erased in one swift movement. So all of Officer Scott Peterson's attaboys that he collected over his 30-year career, they're all gone based on one day. Pamela Dasgupta, he was hiding. I agree. I saw some of the video. It's despicable. It's almost indefensible. Lieutenant Peter Pranzo is in the house. Lieutenant Pete, good to see you, buddy. Milwaukee civilian. Yeah, it's, you're right. You watch the video of him, tough to defend, but is the jury going to be able to convict based on that, child neglect? I think it's almost more and Lieutenant Pete, I'm going to ask you this, more of an administrative thing. Maybe could have been handled in-house by the police department. Let him retire, take 60 days, take 90 days, take 120 days pay from him. But to be charged criminally for this, Lieutenant Pete, what are your thoughts? And we're talking about Officer Scott Peterson from the Parkland Police, who was the school resource officer the day of the Parkland shooting, who was basically seen on videotape not doing the right thing, not doing his job, not confronting the shooter, basically hanging out outside, hiding outside, whatever words you want to use. And he's being referred to as by the parents of the Parkland students that were killed as the coward from Broward. So what are your thoughts, Lieutenant Peter Pranzo? I'd love to hear, because Lieutenant Pete is an NYPD legend, a NYPD Medal of Valor winner, and so coming from him, I would really respect his opinion on this. And prying Paula, wouldn't failure to render aid be more accurate? Prying Paula, yeah, or failure to take proper police action. And in any event, I think that should be, Scott, good afternoon, that should be an administrative charge. I don't think it should have risen to the criminal level. And I think the police department in Broward County should have allowed him to retire and hit him with an administrative sanction, like, 60 days pay, 90 days, 120 days pay. But for this to have become criminal and charge him with child neglect, I think that's really sort of stretching the law. I don't think it's... Lieutenant Pete, you're still in the house? Your thoughts? Scott, Detective Scott, what do you think about Officer Scott Peterson from the Parkland Police? Should he have been charged criminally, or should that have been an administrative situation? And then we can compare this to... Good, doing well, Scott. We can compare this to the Uvalde case, and the chief there, I think, he probably should be charged criminally. Scott says he thinks he should have been charged criminally. Well, he has been charged criminally. Now it remains to be seen, when this case goes to trial, how is the jury going to feel about this? Is the jury, especially the jury from this area, they're residents of Parkland. Think about how that shooting affected the entire community. I believe there were 17 people shot to death, 14 students and 3 adults. How is the community, do you think the community is going to be sympathetic to Officer Scott Peterson? Moonlight View, I don't see the charges sticking. I sort of agree with you, Moonlight View. Betty Spaghetti's shaking my head. Well, guys, I'm asking you. I'm playing devil's advocate here. If he goes to a jury trial, he's done. A judge trial, he has a chance of getting off. Yeah, I think, I think for Officer Peterson, a victory for him would be that he doesn't get convicted of a felony. Because if he gets convicted of the child neglect charges, that's a felony, he'll lose his pension and everything he worked for 30 years. Betty Spaghetti, not shaking it at you, Bill, at the circumstances. Yeah, no, Betty, this is not an easy thing. I mean, I would think that, agree, Bill, cops are just people who are highly trained to enter into combat. Lieutenant Pete, it's sped by so fast. Could you repeat that, Lieutenant Pete? And I know Lieutenant Pete is a commander, and extraordinary commander, and when he says something, believe me, it's, I don't want to be, prying Paul, I don't think he would get jail time. I can't even imagine someone getting prison time for this. But if he got convicted of the felony, he would lose his pension. He would lose everything that he worked for. The man's 60 years old. So half his life was spent in the police department. So it's not an easy call. If I was a parent in Parkland and I watched the video of him not taking action, I would think I would want his head on a silver platter. So it's easy for me and for us listening to this podcast. We're discussing what should happen to Officer Scott Peterson after trial. What should he get convicted of? Moonlight View, I'd be livid. Mary Brayman, yeah, candy. So it's not like an easy call that we could say, oh, just let him go. His pain is going to be the memories of his inaction and the what ifs. What if he had been a hero? What if he had responded in there? How many lives could he have saved? May have lost his own life, right? That's another aspect. Fuzzy Doxy, but you can't be arrested if you didn't do your job. Well, he was arrested. And that's why we're saying here, that's what part of this discussion is that it seems like they're stretching the law a little bit. Leslie Philby, yes, the defendant, Nicholas Cruz, did not get the death penalty because I believe in Florida it has to be a unanimous vote. So all 12 jurors have to vote to give the death penalty. And I think it was like 9-3 in favor of the death penalty. And so he got life without parole, which I understand pissed off the families, pissed off the community, and they wanted to see this guy who seemingly had no remorse. Nicholas Cruz is his name. J.D. Wells, would any cop go in without backup? Absolutely. Absolutely. Something, that's what you're trained to do. And, something, it's easy to say if you're not in that situation, oh, I would do it. No. Look, I know from other things that I've responded to, and myself and some people that I worked with showed extreme bravery and didn't think twice. I confronted a bank robber with a sawed-off M1 with my little .38 Chief by myself, off duty, and I made the arrest. And he had just robbed a bank on the Upper West Side with a sawed-off M130 carbine, which would have taken me out in 2 seconds. And I had my little 5-shot Chief, Smith & Wesson. So maybe that's not the same as an active shooter, but, if he decided to shoot it out with me, I was going to be the loser, believe me. He's got a loaded sawed-off M1. But something, and I'm not trying to blow my own horn, but I know, look, we talked about the two types of officers that on police departments. One is the warrior, and the other is the guardian. And politicians don't want cops to be warriors. But you know something? You can't stop cops from being warriors, because there are cops that want to go after the bad guy. They want to confront the bad guy. Patty Gee, would you confront him? Yeah. If I still have that badge on my chest and I'm still a cop at 60, yeah, I'm going in. And Scott, I was a transit cop for 15 years. A lot of time, yeah, transit cops work by themselves, all alone, and they have to confront situations with no backup, all by themselves, down in that scary place they call the hole. And Scott, you're right. Lieutenant Pete said, look, cops are trained. They're trained to go into combat situations. Again, though, and Lieutenant Pete can verify this, even though all cops are trained in combat and all cops are trained in these situations, they still may not have the heart, the personality, let's put it bluntly, the balls to go into a situation like that. Prying Paula, I don't think I could convict the guy and cause him to lose his pension because he was afraid. Yeah. Look, I don't want this guy to be destroyed. He's already destroyed. Do we want to destroy him more? There's already been 17 lives lost in this situation through the active shooter. Now, do we want one more life destroyed? And again, with those 17 lives comes 17 families, 17 or more families that lives have been ruined. But do we want to add Officer Scott Peterson's name to the list of people whose lives have been destroyed by this? I hope not. I hope we're merciful enough not to. But again, Lieutenant Pete got my combat cross, but had my team backing me up. Lieutenant Pete, I believe on the NYPD, the second highest medal on the NYPD is the Combat Cross, which Lieutenant Pete has, which is an extreme, extreme honor. The highest medal you could get, and usually it's awarded posthumously, is the Medal of Honor. And the Combat Cross, I believe, and Lieutenant Pete, if I'm wrong, correct me, I believe the Combat Cross is the second highest medal on the police department. It's a green bar, so you can't mistake it when you see it above someone's shield. Kimberly Clays, are school resource officers trained like? Yes, they are. They are police officers. And in the police service, there's certain details. And a school resource officer, it's probably like it's a detail, but a school resource officer, it's not a heavy lifting job. You know, he did it for 25 years out of his 30. So it's not, as I said, it's not a heavy lifting job. He's, he's more of like a friend to the kids. He'll deal with problems inside the school. And who expects one day that an active shooter comes in and now your cushy job just became your worst nightmare, right? Your worst nightmare. 163 people in the chat, 119 people with the thumbs up. Let's get some more thumbs up, guys, and we can equal it out. This is Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories, Backyard Beverage, Bitching with Bill, Coffee with Cannon, Coffee, Cuffs, Crime, and Cannon. I don't remember Lou Lemoracco named it. I don't have all the different names, but as you guys can see, I'm back in New York. Different scenery, right? But I was trying to I did a show in the backyard of the condo I have that I rent, I don't own, in Florida. And it was a really cool backdrop. It's a cool backdrop. Like ducks in the yard, all kinds of woo, woo, woo. That's the Lieutenant Pete says no loss of pension for the old cop. Lieutenant Pete, I agree. And you know something, Lieutenant Pete? That's a sign of a good man, that you're not vindictive, even though we both agree he did wrong. Coffee, Cuffs, and Candid Cannon. That's it, Erica Olson. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Nikki Bella, good to see you. Lieutenant Pete is a righteous man, a fair man, and even though he's the real deal as a cop, he believes like I do. I don't want, this guy is going to be destroyed no matter what happens in this trial. Do we want to just totally end his life by taking his pension from him? I think we got to be merciful, and I would hope even the families of the kids that lost their lives, I can't speak for them, but I would hope that they would be merciful and not want this man, again, didn't measure up on that day, and could he have saved numerous lives? I think he could have, 167 in the chat, 135 with the thumbs up. Coffee, Cuffs, and Candid Cannon. I was just reminded that was another. Let's hit that pool. I bet you the pool's freezing now, though. This is New York's just starting to get warm. Today's June 1st, right? Wow, June 1st. I got to get my car inspected. Especially when you what do you do if you have a New York car and you're down in Florida and the inspection is up? You can't do anything. You have to drive it to New York, right? There's no way you can get inspected in Florida, right? JJ, humans are trained and are not programmed. That's for sure. That's for sure. And you know something? I'm forgiving. I don't want Officer Scott Peterson to lose his pension. But look, I don't think he did the right thing. I don't, and I have to say that. I can't sit here. But again, I'm not sitting in judgment. I'm not on that jury, you know. I am not on that jury judging this man. Uh, let's hope that, you know, maybe he will take it to a judge trial. Sometimes judges, they're wiser maybe than juries sometimes in a case that really requires a deep dive into the law. I think they overcharged in this case. To charge him with, the charges are child neglect and culpable negligence. And I think the child neglect is the felony. Culpable negligence, that's probably a misdemeanor. If they want to convict him of that, go ahead. He's not going to lose his pension then, all right? Was he culpably negligent? Yeah, I think so. But does he deserve... J.D. Wells, he folded when it mattered. Yeah, you know, it's... not everyone knows in this world knows what it takes to be brave, what it takes to stand up to deadly physical force. There's a good chance you could lose your own life, right? So those that know it, those that understand it, you know, in these cases where these kids 14 kids lost their life, you expect and want the police to lay their life down in order to save these kids. Again, big, huge failures in this case, Parkland, huge failures in Uvalde, Texas. Just, that was horrific, horrific. And that was just recently the 1-year anniversary of that. But then we look at a huge success story, which was in Nashville, Tennessee, where the police, and I'll name their names, Michael Colazzo and Rex Engelbert, confronted the shooter and took the shooter out. And that's what they're supposed to do. But not so simple to do, right? Did somebody think Wendy Swain, I'm not a cop, but I would run in any building to try to save kids. He ran outside and stood there. You know something, I have to agree with you. I can't disagree. I can't defend his actions. I really can't. Mountain Cat, hi Bill, mods and chat, good to see you. And BB2, 164 in the chat, 149 with the thumbs up. Let's get some more of those thumbs up, guys, and comment on this, because this was, you know, in the chat. This is a heavy-duty topic. Frank Marshall, you're right. You don't wait to get involved. He's a correction officer in a bad situation. In a correctional situation, you have to confront it. If you don't confront it, it will get worse. It'll get much worse. Trust me. You know, confront it while it's just smoldering. Put the fire out, you know. And in this situation, the fire was the loss of lives of students, of 17 people altogether. You know, from what I understand, 2 security officers in the Parkland shooting without weapons ran in and confronted the shooter, you know. So how do we defend Officer Scott Peterson, who stayed outside and didn't go inside to confront the shooter? Milwaukee civilian police officer should do a special episode when you hit 50,000 subscribers. He's been listening for years and he's very impressed. Thank you so much. I've stayed with it. I'll give myself that much stick-to-itiveness. I've tried to be creative and do different type of shows. But thank you, Milwaukee civilian, for all your support. Guys, we should be hitting 50,000 in the next week or two. I'm being optimistic. And that is an accomplishment, and I'm proud of it. But I don't want to stop at that. My goal for 2023 is 100,000. Can we do it? Can we do it, fans, subscribers, friends? I think we can. Guys, I'm at 49 minutes, 30 seconds. I want to thank everyone for coming by today. I got to show you guys my pool. The pool's looking good. I'm back from Florida. I'm going to go on tonight at 9 o'clock, and myself and Melanie Little are going to do a show on some of the new things coming out of the Jeffrey Epstein case that was, pedophile island and all of that stuff. There's some new information, and we're going to do a show on that tonight at 9 p.m. Guys, have a great day. Enjoy the day, and God bless.